I have a question. How do we motivate employee of the company for innovation?
How do you motivate a team? So let's start with the public sector. I know, having worked with public sector folks, there's a lot of great talent out there, but Hardy, how do you motivate public sector folks?
I think you just allow them to innovate. I think what has happened in the public sector is they've been beaten down so much because they just cannot take risk, and it's just very difficult to get a new idea and try to execute that and get executive support to make that happen. And we've seen that at the state of Illinois in the last 16 months. We haven't changed culture. We haven't tried to change the culture. We have let them innovate, and the culture has changed automatically. Now everybody wants to, a lot of people are raising hands and saying, I have an idea, how do I execute that? So motivation comes as you allow people to express themselves and execute and provide the executive support for that.
Brenna, how do you do it at the city?
Yeah, no, I think Hardik's right. I mean, if you actually tell them they can do it, like just empower them to say yes, show them the follow through, that you'll give them a chance to build their idea, make their process change. Because the worst thing you can do is say we're going to do it and then give them the chance to try and not support it and follow through. But if you actually can allow that to happen, you'll be amazed at how much change just starts to generate itself, and it will reinforce itself. Because the talent and the drive is there, it just needs to be sort of fertilized, and it'll grow on its own.
Right.
And I'm not putting an infomercial here, but I've worked with the government before. I've worked in a government before. I've worked with several governments across the globe. This state administration is different. I mean, the amount of innovation that goes inside, you don't get to hear that outside because all of the budget and legislature stuff that takes the headlines. But the amount of innovation that is happening inside, whether it is through lean, it is through technology transformation, we are internally going
We're
to
going to get Ed. Let's get Ed in here, Hardy.
So you are from the government. You really are here to help us.
So
Ed,
help you. Ed, I want to take Hardy off the hot seat here for a minute. So Ed, in a financial services organization, where by definition you have to be managing risk, that's what it's all about. I mean, how do you motivate the team to be innovative?
It's the same way everybody said. You need to empower people. You have to have a vision of where you want the company to go. We're same or better products, same or better delivery systems, kill them with service, and we're going to be Chicago's bank. We hit 20 years, had no idea where we would be. We figured Chicago's such a great town, does not have its own bank. Why can't we be that bank? So let's make a run at it. Everybody understands that. The way you're going to do that is by empowering people. We run a multi-chartered system. We push decisions as close to the customer as we possibly can. We also push innovation as close to the customer as we possibly can, and let it come up, give everybody enough rope to hang themselves, but keep an eye on them and let them go.
And,
I mean,
you've
got to let
people.
You
let them go. You don't hang them, right? I like that. Let's go to NASA. Mary Ellen, people's lives are at stake. Your life is at stake when you're up there. I mean, how do you encourage innovation when lives are literally at stake?
Well, as you all know, this is a very fascinating time in the space business. Innovation is happening on an enormous scale at this point. And I think what most people don't appreciate is that these burgeoning companies, SpaceX or Orbital, these commercial companies that are building these vehicles that are going to the space station and hopefully soon taking crews, all of that came from innovation within NASA. Because by and large, they were not putting up their own money. That was NASA money that was going into those rocket and module development efforts. And so that innovation really happened and was allowed because you had extremely innovative people within NASA and very brave people within NASA. One of the things, if you want to talk about innovation within an industry like aerospace, in which it is very entrenched, there are companies that have billions and billions of dollars on the line that they can only continue to make that kind of money if things stay exactly the way they are. Sure. And so when you bring in somebody to our nation's space program and say, we're going to do things a little bit different, great consternation. And the leadership within NASA to make that happen, or within any entrenched industry, it really takes somebody with extreme courage,
Yeah.
an extreme backbone, somebody, who's willing to say, it's not about me. I want to see this transformation happen. And if you look through our nation's space program and you look at the big changes that took place, whether it was going from the space station Freedom that I talked about earlier to the International Space Station, or to go from just NASA building its own rockets to having commercial companies provide those rockets, the leaders that made those things happen are absolutely vilified in many circles and hated.
So let me jump back in. So what I think I'm hearing, and I still want to hear Shradha on this point, is that the leadership is part of what enables and empowers the individual. That leading innovation from the top, there's some secret sauce that these people do. But Shradha, what about in a startup? I mean, it sounds like you guys, you certainly screen for innovation, but what do you do to empower? And then I've got one final question for the group, and we'll wrap up.
So you've got 3 C's here. The 3 C's are catalyze, communicate, celebrate.
You say those slowly. So catalyst,
Catalyze, communicate, and celebrate.
and celebrate. Let's not miss that celebrate. Good stuff. Keep going.
So with catalyzing, it's really creating environments, or even the first 5 minutes of a meeting, to just take a few minutes and share with the employees what's an idea that you have or what's a problem that you've identified worth solving. And that catalyzes innovation. Sometimes it can be as simple as handing Post-it notes and allowing each person to write down an idea that then goes up on a board. So really catalyzing in environments, in meetings, opportunities for people to take ownership over ideation. On communicate is, especially on performance management, it's a very critical component for us to be able to provide feedback to employees on an ongoing basis, but also communicate regularly and repetitively the expectation of innovation and the importance of innovation. And celebrate, we do in very fun ways. Sometimes we have something called a Pioneer Award that's handed out at an all-company meeting to somebody who came up with a very risky idea that succeeded, to really encourage people to take more risk.
Okay, I really want to emphasize this: celebrate, create awards. There's something about recognition that, whether you're in NASA or wherever you are, is really important.